Ladies, let me tell you something. Before you let anyone touch your body, they should be able to touch your soul, and not with sweet words or candlelit dinners, but with patience, presence, and truth. But how can you even recognize truth if you've never had peace inside? How can you receive love if your inner child still believes she's unworthy of it? You think you're grown. You think because you pay your own bills and rock designer heels and run boardrooms, you're ready for love. But the little girl inside you, the one who used to cry herself to sleep at 10 years old, wondering why her father left or why her mother couldn't love her softly. She's still whispering. She's still aching. She's still running the show. And until you hear her, until you hold her, you're going to keep choosing people who reflect your pain instead of your healing. Because unhealed trauma doesn't just sit quietly in the corner. It becomes the pattern. It becomes the magnet. It becomes the loudest voice in your love life. Let's go deeper. You say you want love, real love, but what do you really want? Do you want love or do you want validation? Do you want connection or do you want to prove you're not forgettable? Be honest, do you want a partner or a pain reliever? Because the version of you who hasn't looked her younger self in the eye is going to love from a place of emptiness. She's going to fall for anyone who offers her the approval she never got. And baby, that's dangerous. That's how you end up dating your abandonment. That's how you end up marrying your neglect. That's how you end up confusing obsession for devotion and toxicity for passion. See, the world tells you go find your person. I'm telling you, go find your broken pieces first. Sit with the little girl inside of you, the one who learned early on that being too loud, too much, or too emotional made people leave. The one who thought love meant earning, performing, or shrinking. The one who became hyper-independent because depending on someone else was never safe. Let her speak, let her cry, because that version of you, that younger version who experienced rejection, abandonment, chaos, she's not gone. She's living in your nervous system, in the way you flinch when someone raises their voice, in the way you over-explain to avoid conflict, in the way you chase people who barely show up for you just so you don't feel alone. But hear me, healing her is not about blaming your parents forever. It's not about wallowing in what happened. It's about acknowledging that something did happen and you never gave yourself the time, the grace, or the tools to process it. Healing your inner child is learning to reparent yourself, to give yourself the things you never received: safety, boundaries, kindness, understanding, self-respect. You keep waiting for someone to give you what you didn't get. But that's not their job. That's your job. That's the adult you rising up and saying, I got you now. Because when you don't heal, you bleed. You bleed on people who didn't cut you. You turn good relationships into battlegrounds because love feels foreign and unfamiliar, even unsafe. You sabotage peace because chaos is what you were raised on. And so you run from soft love. You call it boring. You call it not exciting enough. No, it's just unfamiliar to a heart raised in survival mode. So what do? You stop running. You turn around. You walk back to the version of you that was told she wasn't enough. And you look her in the eyes and say, you are. You become the mother you didn't have, the father who didn't show up, the big sister who should have protected you, the friend who never left. You become all of it for yourself. Because here's the truth. Healthy love starts with self-trust, and self-trust starts with healing. You can't trust others until you trust you, and you can't trust you if you're still ignoring your own pain. You've got to stop gaslighting yourself. You've got to stop minimizing what you went through. You've got to stop pretending you're okay just because you're functioning. Functioning is not the same as healing. So many women are high-performing, but deeply wounded. You're building businesses, raising kids, leading teams. But when it's quiet, when no one is watching, you still feel empty. You still question your worth. You still replay conversations in your head, wondering, did I say too much? Did I ask for too much? That's not love. That's fear. That's a wound trying to dress itself up as independence. And don't get me wrong, being strong is beautiful. But baby, strength without softness becomes a prison. You deserve a love where you can exhale, not constantly prove yourself. But the only way to attract that love is to become a safe place for yourself first, because what you tolerate is a reflection of what you believe you deserve. If you think you're only worthy of love when you're perfect, you'll attract people who only love you when you're useful. If you think affection must be earned, you'll overgive and underreceive every single time. But when you heal, when you really do the work, your standards rise. Your peace becomes non-negotiable. your presence becomes powerful, and love becomes sacred, not something you chase, but something you align with. Let me make this plain. Healing your inner child doesn't mean waiting until you're perfect before you love again. It means loving from a place of wholeness instead of hunger. It means saying, I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I will never again shrink to fit inside someone else's version of love. It means dating with clarity, not desperation. It means setting boundaries with compassion, not fear. It means walking away, not because you're cold, but because you're finally warm enough within yourself to know when something doesn't feel right. Healing changes how you show up. It changes your taste, your pace, your pattern. You stop trying to save broken people because you've saved yourself. You stop confusing chemistry with compatibility. You stop interpreting inconsistency as a challenge instead of a red flag. You stop holding on when it's clear they're not holding you. You stop begging, you stop performing, you stop settling, and most of all, you stop abandoning yourself just to be loved. That's the real healing. It's not just about crying over your past. It's about rising from it, rewriting your story, becoming a woman who doesn't just know her worth, but protects it. And listen, there will still be moments where that little girl inside you feels afraid, moments where she wonders if she's lovable. Let her speak, but don't let her drive. You are not her anymore. You are the woman she prayed you'd become. So love her, but lead her. Lead her into safe spaces. Lead her into honest conversations. Lead her into friendships that don't drain her and lovers who see her. Lead her into peace, because the healed woman is magnetic. She doesn't chase. She doesn't beg. She attracts because she's whole. And when a whole woman loves, she loves from overflow, not need. She loves without losing herself. So before you fall in love with him, fall in love with her, the girl you used to be, the woman you are becoming, the journey that got you here. Because when you love her right, you'll never let another person love you wrong again. And let's be real about something. Healing is not a straight line. It's not this neat little staircase where you climb and everything makes sense. No, healing is messy. It's wild. It's sacred. It's waking up one morning feeling like you finally let go, and waking up the next with your heart in pieces again. But the difference, now you know not to run from those pieces. You know how to sit with them. You know how to hold yourself, because self-love isn't spa days and affirmations alone. It's discipline. It's learning how not to call them back. It's learning how to speak up when your voice shakes. It's giving yourself permission to be seen, not just when you're strong, but when you're soft, raw, undone, because that's where your real power lives. Too many people are looking for the perfect partner without becoming emotionally honest themselves. You want someone to open up to you, but you don't even know how to sit with your own truth. You want intimacy, but you flinch at vulnerability. You crave loyalty, but betray yourself every time you ignore your gut just to avoid being alone. That's why the healing matters, because love isn't about finding someone to complete you. That's the biggest lie the world ever sold. Love is about finding someone who honors what you've already completed within yourself. Someone who doesn't rescue you, but respects that you already saved your own life. When you heal, you stop asking for someone to fix you. You start choosing someone who can hold space for you. Someone who doesn't silence your fears but stays present with them. Someone who doesn't punish your growth but walks beside it. And you only attract that kind of love when you become it for yourself first. So stop rehearsing the heartbreak. Stop replaying the rejection. Stop rewriting your memories, trying to figure out what you could have done differently to earn someone's love. Let it go. You didn't fail. You just outgrew the version of yourself that settled. You're not here to be chosen by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. And when you become true to yourself, when you stop dimming your light, stop molding your voice to sound more acceptable, stop twisting your truth to be more likable, that's when alignment starts happening. That's when God sends people who see you and don't flinch, who see your scars and don't run, who see your power and don't compete. But you can't get there if you keep betraying your younger self just to feel accepted today. You've got to break the cycle. Break the cycle that tells you love is painful. Break the cycle that tells you you're too much or not enough. Break the cycle that tells you you're only valuable when you're needed, useful, or perfect. Because you were worthy when you were crying on that bedroom floor. You were worthy when you were holding yourself together at the dinner table. You were worthy when nobody called, when nobody stayed, when nobody saw you. You were still worthy. And now it's time to act like it. It's time to stop auditioning for roles in people's lives you were never meant to play. Time to stop proving, chasing, fixing, explaining. You don't need to overfunction to be loved. You don't need to shrink your boundaries to keep someone around. And you don't need to be unrecognizable to yourself just to be seen by somebody else. Healing your inner child is the ultimate act of self-respect. It's you saying, I will no longer abandon myself for love. It's you saying, I don't need someone to fill a void. I need someone who won't create one. Because when you're healed, you don't move from loneliness, you move from fullness. You don't cling, you choose. You don't perform, you rest. You don't beg for crumbs, you walk away from tables where you're not fed. And no, it's not always easy. You're gonna grieve the versions of you that believed chaos was normal. You're gonna miss the people who mirrored your wounds. But on the other side of that grief is freedom, is peace, is clarity, is love that doesn't cost your identity. That's the life you're building, not a life of survival, but of deep, unwavering self-trust. A life where your heart is not a battleground, but a sanctuary. A life where you no longer romanticize suffering. A life where the most powerful relationship you have is the one you've built with yourself. And from that place, love becomes something different. It's not fast. It's not shallow. It's not conditional. It's not laced with fear or manipulation. It's slow. It's sacred. It's steady. It holds you and expands you. It challenges you, not to break you, but to evolve you. And it starts with you. So if you're sitting here wondering when it'll be your turn, wondering why love hasn't found you yet, maybe it has. Maybe love has been waiting on you to find you. Because the truth is, love can't meet you deeper than you've met yourself. So meet yourself, meet your fears, your patterns, your dreams, your shadow, your silence. Get so intimate with your own soul that no one can come in and redefine you. Get so clear on who you are that love is no longer about completion, but contribution. That's the kind of love that changes everything. But it begins with healing the little girl within. So go back, not to relive the pain, but to rescue the power, because she was never broken. She was just waiting for you to come home to yourself. And baby, you're home now. You're home now, and that changes everything. Because once you return to yourself, something permanent shifts. You no longer mistake temporary attention for real intimacy. You no longer entertain people who don't have the emotional bandwidth to meet you where you are. You stop giving time to people who only check in when it's convenient, who disappear when it's hard, who fumble with fragile hearts like yours. Your healed self doesn't demand perfection from others, but it refuses to settle for inconsistent disguised as effort. You begin to crave stillness, not noise, truth, not pretense, depth, not performance. You grow allergic to small talk, surface level bonding, and relationships built on pretense and pretending. You stop explaining your worth. You stop proving your value. You simply walk in it quietly, boldly. You begin to realize that being chosen isn't the goal. Being respected is. Being seen fully without being edited is. Being honored in spaces where your heart doesn't feel like a burden. That's the real prize. And when someone comes along not to fix you, but to build with you, you'll recognize them. You'll recognize them because they won't activate your anxiety. They won't trigger your old need to overcompensate. They won't awaken the part of you that fears rejection. Instead, they'll speak to your healed parts, the parts that feel grounded, worthy, and whole. Because love isn't meant to feel like a test you're constantly trying to pass. It's supposed to be a mirror, reflecting what's already true about you. And when you've done the work, that reflection becomes clear, not distorted by desperation, not clouded by fantasy, just clear, clean, mature affection, rooted in truth. You'll see it in the way they listen, not just to respond, but to understand. You'll feel it in how they stay present when your emotions rise. Instead of fleeing at the first sign of discomfort, you'll notice it in the small ways they choose you, not just with words, but with consistency. That's love, real love, grown love. And you'll respond differently. You won't sabotage it. You won't question if you're worthy of it. You won't push it away because it feels unfamiliar. You'll lean in because the healed you knows the difference between healthy and harmful. That's the reward for doing the inner work, the strength to recognize peace and the courage to choose it. But don't rush this process. Don't try to microwave your healing. This isn't a performance. This is sacred ground. Take your time. Cry when you need to. Pause when it gets overwhelming. Reflect, revisit, reimagine. There's no deadline, no finish line, just deeper layers of becoming. Each time you choose to confront your triggers instead of transferring them, you grow. Each time you self-regulate instead of lashing out, you evolve. Every moment you meet your fear with compassion instead of judgment, you rewrite the script. And little by little, you step into a version of yourself that your past would barely recognize. That's what healing gives you. Not a new personality, but a clearer identity. Not a mask, but a mirror. Not a fantasy, but a foundation. And from that foundation, everything changes. Your choices shift. Your circle tightens. Your values sharpen. You no longer move to prove. You move to align. You no longer sacrifice your peace for potential. You no longer confuse intensity with investment. You've upgraded, not in status, not in image, in spirit. You carry yourself differently because you're no longer searching for someone to save you. You're showing up already rescued, already loved by the one person who matters most. And let's be clear, not everyone will understand the new you. Some will call you cold because you no longer tolerate emotional immaturity. Others will call you distant because you stopped overextending yourself for those who only showed up when it benefited them. Some may even call you selfish for choosing your own well-being. Let them misunderstand. Let them project. Let them go. Because your job is not to shrink for the comfort of those who refuse to grow. Your job is not to dilute your journey, to make others feel okay about standing still. You're not arrogant for evolving. You're not wrong for choosing yourself. You're just aware now, and awareness demands action. So you release with grace. You let go without bitterness. You walk away not out of pride, but out of preservation. Because the healed you understands that peace isn't something you stumble into. It's something you protect fiercely and daily. And with that peace, you begin to dream again, not from fear, but from faith. You start building not just a relationship, but a life rooted in purpose, a life that mirrors the wholeness you fought so hard to create. You start attracting friendships that nourish, not drain, mentorships that challenge, not belittle, opportunities that stretch, not suffocate. And you realize something powerful. The greatest romance is not found in another's arms. It's in the daily decision to honor your own heart, to speak to yourself with gentleness, to push yourself toward excellence, to create a life so rich in joy, discipline, and intention that any love entering it only adds to what's already overflowing. That's how healed people love, from fullness, not famine. So today, choose her again, the woman who rose from what should have broken her, the woman who stopped apologizing for her voice, the woman who no longer begs for space at tables she could build herself. She's not waiting on someone to define her. She's walking in the definition she created, bold, complete, and unafraid to demand a love that meets her where she is. That's not ego. That's self-respect. That's not hardness. That's sacred boundaries. That's not being picky. That's being precise with your peace. You don't need 100 chances. You just need one honest relationship, and it starts with the one you have with yourself. So hold yourself a little tighter tonight. Speak life over the parts of you that are still tender, and walk boldly into every room, every conversation, every relationship, knowing this. You are not someone waiting to be loved. You are someone becoming the kind of love the world desperately needs to see. You are the evidence that pain doesn't get the final word. You are the walking proof that a heart once shattered can still pulse with purpose, that a soul once silenced can find its voice and roar back with clarity. That just because you were once lost doesn't mean you're disqualified from leading others into light. And now you're becoming someone new, not because you changed for the world, but because you finally refused to keep hiding who you were created to be. You are not here to survive your history. You are here to reimagine your future. You are not defined by the people who left, nor the ones who couldn't love you properly. You are shaped by the decisions you make now, the ones rooted in awareness, courage, and unwavering self-commitment. This new chapter you're stepping into, it requires something different. It requires you to choose yourself even when it feels unfamiliar. It demands that you stop settling for half-hearted conversations and relationships that never see you fully. You've spent enough time trying to fit into spaces that only knew how to love your silence. Now you're learning to take up space not with noise but with presence, not with chaos but with conviction. You don't owe anyone an apology for choosing healing over history. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're walking away from situations that feel misaligned. You've paid your dues in pain. Now you're investing in peace. And let's talk about something most people don't, the loneliness that comes with self-transformation. Because when you start evolving, things get quiet. You outgrow conversations that once entertained you. You lose interest in circles that once made you feel validated. You look around and realize that not everyone you started with has the capacity to walk where you're going, and that's okay. Growth isn't always a celebration. Sometimes it's a shedding. Sometimes it's a season of solitude where you have to sit with your own reflection and ask yourself, what am I still carrying that no longer belongs to me? That's when the real breakthroughs happen, when you stop blaming and start building, when you stop waiting and start working, when you stop seeking external rescue and start showing up as your own hero. You learn that self-respect is louder than any love letter, that discipline will take you further than desire, that emotional maturity will create the safety that passion alone never could. And in this silence, you'll find wisdom. In the pauses, you'll find clarity. In the discomfort, you'll find power, the kind of power that doesn't need an audience, the kind that exists even when no one's clapping, because it's not for them, it's for you. It's for the woman who stopped shrinking, for the girl who used to cry into her pillow, wondering if she'd ever feel seen, for the future mother who refuses to pass down emotional instability disguised as strength, for the leader who realizes that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's evidence of courage. This healing work you're doing, it's not selfish, it's legacy. You're rewriting what love looks like for the generations coming after you. You're proving that generational trauma doesn't have to be inherited like a family heirloom, that dysfunction doesn't have to be normalized, that emotional safety, communication, empathy, these can be taught, modeled, lived. And someday when you look into the eyes of someone who loves you not for your mask but for your wholeness, you'll be grateful you did this. You'll be thankful for every late night you spent journaling through your triggers, every therapy session where you felt like quitting, every boundary you set that left you misunderstood, because all of it was building a life that honors you, not just the polished version of you the world claps for, but the real you, the flawed, tender, fierce, layered you, the woman who fought to reclaim her truth. And that love you're seeking, it's not behind a locked door guarded by someone else. It's already within your reach when you choose to see yourself through the lens of healing, not hurt. You're not broken. You're breaking cycles. You're not too much. You were just never placed in the right soil. Now you're planting yourself in environments that feed you, not drain you. You're aligning with people who mirror your growth, not your wounds. And you're learning that true intimacy isn't built on proximity. It's built on truth, on presence, on safety, on consistency, on the daily choice to show up not perfectly, but honestly. And that's what you deserve. not the kind of love that makes you question your worth every other week, not the kind of romance that thrives on emotional confusion, not the situations wrapped in mixed signals and half effort. You deserve clarity. You deserve partnership rooted in integrity. You deserve laughter that heals, not love that hurts. And the most powerful way to attract that kind of relationship is to become that kind of home for yourself. Because when you become emotionally safe with yourself, you stop entertaining people who make you feel like a stranger in your own skin. You stop lowering your standards just to keep someone close. You stop betraying your intuition for the illusion of closeness. You choose peace over proving. You choose truth over tradition. You choose alignment over attachment. And that, my sister, is freedom. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks, but you'll feel it in your chest, in the steadiness of your breath, in the way you no longer flinch when someone walks away, because you know you're never truly alone when you're anchored in self-worth. You've been through too much to play small now. You've cried too long to fake it anymore. This is your season to be unapologetically whole, to walk into rooms like you belong there because you do, to stop asking for permission to be seen, to stop waiting for someone to love you enough to make you feel complete. You are already complete. Love doesn't define you. It meets you right where you are, healed, honest, and whole. So now you walk differently. You no longer lead with fear. You don't beg for affection. You don't chase what isn't aligned. Because a healed woman moves with grace, with intention, with the kind of silence that doesn't beg to be understood. It commands respect without raising its voice. You know your value now, and you're done compromising it just to keep company. You're no longer waiting for someone to come and name your worth. You've already carved it into your bones, engraved it in your thoughts, wrapped it around your soul like armor. You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid of being in the wrong hands ever again, because the wrong hands taught you more than the right ones ever could. They showed you where you abandoned yourself. They revealed where you still needed healing. They pushed you to stop romanticizing pain and start protecting your peace. So thank them, bless them, then move on, because your life is too divine to be lived in fragments. No more shrinking, no more settling. No more explaining why your boundaries make people uncomfortable. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be powerful. And that power doesn't mean control. It means clarity. It means that you can now walk away from anything that doesn't serve your soul without guilt. You can say no without a 20-minute explanation. You can choose rest without labeling yourself lazy. You can release relationships, not because you're bitter, but because you're better now. And hear me, being better doesn't mean being hardened. It means being wise. It means you've tasted your own silence long enough to know what your voice sounds like now. It means you don't chase closure. You create it. You don't wait for someone to give you permission to heal. You gave it to yourself. And that's the kind of woman who builds legacy. The kind of woman who doesn't just survive, but shapes the next generation by how she loves herself. She teaches others how to treat her by how she treats herself when no one is looking. When you get to that place, when your inner child is no longer crying out but being heard, held, honored, you attract people who don't want to repair you. They want to grow with you. They don't get intimidated by your strength. They don't minimize your softness. They're not confused by your standards. They rise to meet them. That's not fantasy. That's alignment. That's what happens when you become the version of you your younger self needed. The one who speaks up without fear of rejection, the one who stays calm when chaos tries to knock, the one who doesn't fold at the first sign of tension, but leans in with love and truth. That's the version of you love's been waiting for. Not perfect, not untouchable, but aware, healed, grounded, whole. And yes, there will still be moments that test you, moments where your old patterns whisper again, where that younger voice inside you wonders if she's still too much or not enough. But now you have tools, you have boundaries, you have self-trust, you have compassion, and you know how to walk yourself back into the light without waiting for someone to do it for you. You are your own safe place now. You are the home you always longed for. And because of that, love is no longer a rescue mission. It's a reflection a mirror of the work you've already done. So when it comes, you'll be ready, not because you've memorized the right words or played all the right games, but because you've become someone who loves with depth, with discernment, with dignity. You'll be ready because you'll know the difference between being chosen for your image and being cherished for your essence. You'll be ready because you won't need the relationship to complete your identity. You'll simply allow it to complement your purpose. You'll be ready because you'll be too rooted to get lost again. And that's the real prize, not just the relationship, but the peace inside you that refuses to be shaken by someone else's inconsistency. The peace that lets you walk away without resentment. The peace that reminds you what's meant for you will never require you to betray yourself to keep it. So breathe. You made it, not to the end of the pain, but to the beginning of your power. You've buried enough versions of yourself. Now it's time to rise. You've mourned the losses, the betrayals, the disappointments. Now it's time to live with fullness, joy, and clarity. You've learned the lessons. Now it's time to apply them. And as you stand in this moment, stronger, softer, wiser, remember this. Love doesn't find the broken version of you to complete. Love meets the whole you and amplifies what's already been restored. So no, you don't need to search for love in desperation. You don't need to scan every room for your missing piece. You are not missing, you are rising. And when the time comes and the love aligns, you won't question it, you won't force it, you won't fear it. You'll just receive it fully, freely, fearlessly, because you'll know you are finally loving from a healed place. And that right there changes everything.